To all those people watching, I like to remind everyone that this video is not made for kids. It's for older fans and adults. Enjoy the fucking video! The viaduct that runs between Marin and Kronk had been on the island of Sodor for many years. Many engines had crossed over it, be it just by themselves or with their trains. But one day, as Henry was making his way across the bridge, he felt a slight sinking feeling beneath his wheels. "What was that?" he said. "What's what?" asked his driver. "There was some sort of sinking feeling back on the viaduct, driver," replied Henry. "I didn't feel anything, Henry," replied the fireman. "Neither did I." "Perhaps you were just thinking things, Henry," added the driver. Henry thought so as well as they went on their way down the line with the express. But Henry did feel a thing. The viaduct had been around for many years, but after standing across the valley for such a long time, it began to show its age. The arches needed to be strengthened, but no one knew of their condition, not even Sir Charles Topham Hatt. When Henry was on his return journey, he felt the bump again. "There it is again, driver!" he cried. The driver stopped the train, and he and the fireman went to look at the viaduct, but still couldn't find anything wrong. "Come on, Henry," sighed the driver. "We can't keep the passengers waiting." He and the fireman climbed back into the cab, and they went on their way. But now, Henry began to worry. "I must tell the fat controller once we get back to the big station." But the fat controller was very busy the whole day, so Henry didn't tell him about his worry about the viaduct. Later, Henry puffed into the yards and found Gordon being replenished with coal. "Gordon, I think there might be something wrong with Kronk Viaduct. I noticed when I was on my return journey today." Gordon huffed. "I travelled on it all day today, Henry, and couldn't find anything wrong with that bridge. Ever since your incident with the kipper those years ago, you've become more and more apprehensive." And he puffed away to collect his next train. The next day, it began to rain. Henry doesn't mind the rain, but today he was worried. "I hope the rain doesn't make the viaduct any worse," he said worriedly. "It'll be fine," replied the driver. "The radio said that the rain won't be hard all week." They soon came towards the viaduct, but despite his driver's words, Henry was still worried. "Could we slow down, driver?" he asked. The driver sighed, and reluctantly he did. As Henry puffed his way across the bridge slowly, he felt the sinking of the rails again. But then he heard a bit of a rumble. "What was that?" he shivered. "What was that rumbling sound?" "What rumbling sound?" asked the driver. But Henry didn't answer. The next day he crossed it again and heard the same noise again. Then he heard it again and again as each day passed. By now Henry began to feel scared going across the viaduct. The next day it was still raining, and Henry's driver and fireman arrived at the sheds to get Henry ready for another train. "I'm not going," Henry declared. "Why not?" asked his crew, and Henry told them about the viaduct. Some of the other engines laughed. "Oh, Henry, you and your paranoia. The viaduct is fine," replied Gordon haughtily. That's because you and the others aren't paying attention to the sound. The viaduct is getting weak and it needs repairs. Why not try and ask the fat controller to look over it? Replied Bear innocently. I'm sure he'll get a report about it from the workmen. I tried telling him that, but he's been busy these last few days. It's impossible to get a hold of him. Ha! Old or not, I have an express train to take, and I cannot be late, replied Gordon crossly, and he steamed away. Soon Gordon raced down the line with his train. Silly Henry, he grumbled, all worried about nothing. He came to the viaduct and raced across it, but he felt a big bump beneath his wheels. Oh dear, he grunted. The coaches felt it too, as well as the passengers. Do be careful, Gordon, do be careful, Gordon, they cluttered. But the weight of Gordon wasn't strong enough for the old viaduct, and as soon as Gordon was out of sight, cracks were beginning to show. Later, Henry was near the viaduct. He was cross. The rain had caused problems with the signals, and he was late because of it. But with them coming near the viaduct, Henry was worried again. Can't we slow down, please, driver? We can't, replied his driver. We're late enough as it is. But as they neared the bridge, Henry was horrified by what he had seen. The bridge is down! The bridge is down! Cried Henry. His driver was about to retort until the fireman saw it too. Brake, driver! He cried. The brakes were applied as Henry's wheels glided down the track due to the wet, slippery rails. He groaned as he drew nearer and nearer. Come on, please, stop, stop, stop! He just stopped right near the edge of the bridge. Henry was relieved. The passengers, however, were very cross from the sudden stop and demanded the guard and carriage attendants on what was going on. Meanwhile, the driver and fireman were down to have a look at the viaduct. Bless me, gasped the driver. If we are across the bridge at top speed, things will get worse. Well done, Henry. You prevented a nasty accident. Then Henry realized something else. Gordon could be coming down the line soon. We better warn him. Who knows what else might happen on this bridge? Then the guard approached them, and Henry's crew had asked him if he could get to the last station to call Kronk so they could warn Gordon about the bridge. So, after pointing warning flags near Henry's train, the guard raced as fast as he could back to Marin in the wet rain. He arrived at the station and telephoned the station master at Kronk. When the call had finally reached, the signal was up to red. Gordon came rushing down with the express. He then saw the signal and he had to stop. Bother! What's going on? Why have I stopped? He complained. The station master came towards him and his crew and told them about Henry and the viaduct. The flat controller have been notified and will have an inspector to look over it to see if it's safe for you to cross over. Meanwhile, your passengers will have to take the bus home. So the passengers hopped into Algie and the other buses, while Gordon puffed into a siding with his coaches, despite still grumbling. Later, after the inspection, the inspector came towards Gordon and told him that it was safe to proceed on the other line, but he would have to go slowly to prevent any future disaster. Gordon huffed away, and as he crossed the viaduct, he could see the damage that was done. Oh dear, he said. I think I might have caused that. He came back to the sheds later in the day while Henry was waiting. Sir Charles Topham Hatt was there too. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to cause damage of the bridge. No, Gordon, I'm at fault here. I should have inspected that bridge long ago before it got worse. You should thank Henry for preventing a nasty accident. Without his careful thinking, who knows what might happen to your passengers? Thank you, Henry, smiled Gordon. I'm sorry for not listening to you. That's all right, Gordon. Just make sure you listen whenever there might be trouble next time. And so, work began on strengthening the arches of the viaduct, and Sir Charles Topham had a place to speed limit for the engines when crossing it. The engines understood it, but because of that, delays are often made at Thomas's junction, and that of course made Thomas cross. But that's another story.